TV and Mr. Owen Kabanda's program, which brings to you various interesting topics when it comes to employment matters. And in case you are joining us for the very first time and you're asking yourselves, who is Mr. Kabanda? And you're wondering, what does he do? So Mr. Kabanda is a business and employment expert and a neuropsychologist with over 15 years experience in management and consultancy across various companies in Zambia. I am your host, Patricia Chilembiko, and today we're looking at an interesting topic, and we're looking at mastering job interview questions. I believe last week we did have an interesting conversation, and you did send in your questions, comments, and contributions. And today we'll make sure that we tackle quite a number of your concerns and your questions which you sent through last week. Mr. Kabanda, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm okay. How are you doing?
I'm okay. Glad to be here.
Amazing. And I believe we do receive quite a number of questions from our viewers each and every episode. And last week we did receive quite a number of questions. And maybe if you can just give us a recap of what we discussed last week on behalf of the people that did miss our episode last week.
Yes, sir. Last week we started talking about job search strategies, where basically it was coming from the questions from the viewers who were saying we've been talking a lot about employers and they wanted now from the employee side, but also for those who are looking for employment. So that was the beginning where we started talking to the viewers about how they prepare for job interviews, how they should put their folders together, how they should research on companies and things of that nature so that they could perform very well in the interviews. Otherwise, for those who missed last episode, they can always go on the KBN Facebook page and they'll find the recording. They could also go on my YouTube channel. They'll also find those recordings, so they can always catch up.
Amazing. Last week you did tackle quite a number of questions, such as tell us about yourself, which is one of the trending questions when it comes to interviews. And people are asking if you could please maybe elaborate more on how to handle this question.
Thank you, Patricia. Really, this question seems to be, I don't know, we've tried to explain to the people, but it keeps on coming back. Really, I would start with the aspect of emphasizing on preparation. Preparation means that the candidate, if you have applied for a job, it is high time you start, practicing. Practice and practice and practice so that you become very comfortable with the aspect of talking about yourself. Like we did mention, one of the key things you have to start looking at, even as we talk about preparation, is you understanding the company. That is this institution that I've applied to. What is it all about? We did emphasize this aspect because everything else that you're going to be talking about, even about yourself, will be in line with that company. Secondly, you have to understand the position. Their position, like we said in the last episode, that you have to see what are the duties of this position, what are the skills, what is maybe the education requirements, and all those kind of things, so that when you now come to talk about yourself, you will be talking about yourself in line with that position. On top of that, we also said understand yourself. Understanding yourself means how do you now package yourself in line with that position. So really this question, our emphasis is that the people need to take time, our viewers there should take time to understand themselves. And when you have understood yourself, then you package yourself. Again, I have to say, when we've talked about understanding the institution, even the way you talk about yourself, sometimes it kind of varies a little bit. If you have gone to an NGO, for instance, or a faith-based organization, maybe for those people there, you want to hear more about your background, your family, your struggles, how you have done whatever you have done in your life, even as you talk about your work experience and your qualifications. In the corporate world, especially private business or where they're profit making, they probably want to hear more about what it is that you have done, the results you have achieved for previous companies. Therefore, even as you talk about your experience, they will be looking forward to hearing more about what impact did you actually have in those companies. So the story that you tell about the time you are talking about yourself, like we said, you could start from the time you finish your high school. You talk about your qualifications. you talk about your experience, and again, put your experience in some form of order. From the time you started, I started off like this. Sometimes if you have gotten, like we see people who have done so much, they have so many years of experience, maybe they might not start talking about how they started off as a clerk or something like that. They might start at a high level. However, it is important that you walk with the interviewers through your profile and picking key things that relate to the position. Again, we have to emphasize some of the things we have seen in the past. You have a situation where, I'll give an example, because we have these colleagues of ours, sometimes you take your CV to somebody else to do the CV for you. Again, please understand those documents. We have seen situations where someone, you are interviewing them, then you are asking them, can you tell us about this job? Or how? Then the person, I remember there was this woman, and then she's like, me? Madam, if we are talking to you, who else are we talking to? So it's important that the CV, you look at the CV properly and make sure that you have understood what is in there, so that even as you talk about yourself, you are also corresponding your answers to also what you put in your CV. It's very important. The other aspect, again, I have to emphasize on this question, is that don't also do what some people say, like we mentioned last time, where someone just says, no, as it has been put in my CV. Because there are people who just, believe you me, we've seen situations where the interviewer, they have not even gone through that whole interview pack. They just wake up and they go into the interviews. So it is your opportunity as a job candidate right there and then to explain a little bit more about yourself, rather than just say, as it is in my CV, I have 10 years experience or I have 20 years experience. Give an opportunity, you have been given an opportunity, so utilize it and sell yourself. So those are some of the key things that I have to emphasize. And again, in terms of timing, practice around 60 seconds to about 90. So that's like 1 minute to 3 minutes. If you start finding that you're talking about yourself way 5 minutes, 7, people are sleeping. Remember, the interviewers, they have also some attention span that you have to capitalize on. So package yourself in a manner that you can talk about yourself within a short period of time, and people can fully understand you.
Well explained, Mr. Kabanda. To our viewers, we are live on a GSTV channel 279, GoTV 27, and Topstar 102. We are also live on our Facebook page, which is KBN TV. If you have any questions, comments, or contributions about our topic of discussion for today, please do use the number which is right on your TV screen, and let's get conversating. Let's have a conversation. We want to respond to all the questions that you have, and I believe Mr. Kabanda will respond to tackle a number of questions which you sent on our last episode and the questions that you will send in today. Now, Mr. Kabanda, sometimes candidates are always questioned on how they heard that this particular company is looking for employees, but how should they approach this question? How should they respond? Because basically someone would say, okay, I heard from Patricia, knowing Patricia is working for that company. So how should they approach such kind of a question?
Really, for that kind of question, it's just important that the person is, just be honest about it. There are two things that happen. There are companies that genuinely are looking for feedback in terms of how their adverts are doing. Because sometimes a company can do an advert in the newspapers, they put on some online platforms, or they put on their own website, or on their Facebook page, or LinkedIn page, or various platforms. So sometimes when they ask you that question, they are really looking forward to, they might have even a form in front of them, so they are ticking which channel is being used or which platform the candidates are getting these adverts from. That is one way. So just be genuine about it and answer them. The other reason sometimes that question comes about is when the interviewer is also interested to know, because sometimes things happen in the company and you find that there are people who maybe trying to capitalize on those recruitments. So the interviewers might also want to know, how did you actually hear about this position? So just be frank, even if it was from a colleague. It's not a crime to hear about a job opportunity from a colleague who's working in a particular company. Unless those things were supposed to be, I don't know, a secret, but even then, what is there to be a secret about? I think the key issue is just that be free to explain how you heard about a particular position, and not necessarily fighting or thinking it's a trick. No.
Amazing. Another question they usually ask when one goes for interview is, why do you want to work for this company? It's quite an interesting topic, but I believe a lot of us usually fail to respond to this question. So how best can candidates get to respond to such kind of a question?
Yeah, so someone once said, out from the joking side, that when the interviewer asks you, why do you want to work for this company or take up this job? Like, who asks such a question? We all know that we want money. That's so. The issue is, yes, deep down your heart, as they say, or in your mind, yes, it could be all about the money. But sometimes we also say, think about what, interviews, it's like making the interviewer feel that and think that you are the right fit, or you are finding something in them which you like, and therefore, so when they ask you that question, why do you want to work for us, or why do you want to take up this position, it goes back to the things we've been talking about. Understand the company, understand the job, and understand yourself. It means now you have to align yourself. It means you have to have understood what this institution is all about. And this is why you actually can see somebody who did the research. If the company is in manufacturing, or is in construction, or is in the mining sector, or is in ICT, or whatever it is that institution is in, you want to show how aligned you are, what interest you had looking at their projects, looking at their vision, their mission, and things that, of course, generally you can find in the public, so that you can show how your experience is aligned, and your desires, your motivation, and your long-term vision is aligned with the company. So basically, you should be talking about, well, when I looked at your strategic plan, or I looked at XYZ things that you're doing, and you could find a lot of information on the internet. I thought that this is something that I'm looking forward to do, and it aligns with maybe your vision, or at the personal level, or your qualifications, or your experience, and things of that nature. And also, you should also use that same opportunity to showcase what you have done in the past and how you think those things align with the employer. Because at the end of the day, interviews are simply being used to match the employer's desire to fill a position and your profile. So it's matching the company, or the job profile, and your personal profile, matching them. They should be that match. So that's why even as you speak, you should have in mind, what is this position all about?
Amazing. Mr. Kabanda, it's not just these people asking why do you want to work for this particular company. There's also a question which always confuses a lot of us, why should we hire you?
Yeah.
It's confusing, because you have a lot of thoughts going through in your mind, and you don't know which one is effective, which response is effective according to this question. So how should candidates get to respond to such kind of a question?
Why should we hire you?
Because I end up saying, because I deserve this job.
Exactly. Or am I the one who's doing the assessment?
It's interesting because exactly. Yeah. It's interesting because I will just ask them as well, like, why are you asking me?
Hey, why are you asking
me? I am here because I know that, I deserve this job. That's why I'm here. But according to you, being an expert, how should we respond to such kind of a question?
Yeah, so I know they are simple questions, but again, they end up costing candidates job opportunities. Really, you should be looking at, what is this job about? And again, it goes back to the things we have been singing about. Understand the company, understand the position, understand yourself. Because that very question of why should we hire you, it's a question that gives you an opportunity to sell yourself. Again, think company, position yourself. Company, position yourself. Once you have that framework, you are now packaging yourself, because at this point you are thinking, what is it that I have? Okay? Remember, the third thing is yourself. What is it that you have which relates to this position? So you should package yourself in terms of your experience, and your skills and your knowledge, including your personality. So you should be now convincing the interviewer that, look, when this advert, for instance, came out, I looked at the position itself. I've seen that you're looking for someone who will be undertaking 1, 2, 3 activities, and somebody who has a profile of this nature. Now, if you have work experience, I'll separate the two, those who don't have experience and those who have experience. If you don't have the work experience, there are those who are just maybe fresh from school and things of that nature, you could look at packaging yourself in a manner that shows your own skills, your attributes. Again, for instance, when I was at the university, I was involved in such and such, I was in this club, I was a coordinator of this, and I was looking at the position that you are advertised for. You are looking for someone who will be doing this. And so you are selling yourself. You need to show that you are somehow your profile is similar to what they are looking for. If you have work experience, again, this is where you sell yourself. If, for instance, you're looking for an HR person, I should be there now to demonstrate, if they're looking for that HR person, what is it that I've done in relation to this HR? If they're looking for an accountant, what is it that I've done in relation to that? So you will be there to sell yourself. It should not be something frustrating. And I hear you people in HR, why do you ask this same question? You are the one who knows what you are looking for. You should, I tell interviewees that you should already know what it is that the employer is looking for. The very moment you saw the job advert, you should spend time reading that document line by line, because it tells you what the employer is actually looking for. And I'm hoping this is an employer who has done a proper job. It's not a copy paste, because we all, again, employers, it's another issue. We will have topics to talk about the employers. Sometimes people are just copying things, and that is what confuses even the interviewees or the job seekers. But in many cases where the employer has professionals working in their department, they will do a proper job of listing the duties, the qualifications, the experience, and all those kind of things. So your job as a candidate, when you're sitting there, convince the panelists that you have, in the past you have done this, you have done this, and please, if you can add even with the numbers. One of the things that show someone who is result-oriented is the way they present themselves. I had 200 employees, or I had 300, or in my team we were 4. We were tasked to do this. This is one of the things I did was this, and our results were as follows. You are showing that your profile, you are not just a storyteller. There are people who tell a lot of stories. But to what extent can we actually see that this person is really a real deal, or is just somebody who comes and they are just busy going to be making tea here? So you are supposed to demonstrate that your profile, your background, your experience is really something that the employer is looking for. And talk with confidence.
Well explained, Mr. Kabanda. We can also discuss quite a classic interview question when it comes to, I know, I just don't understand sometimes how you people, human resource, get to ask certain questions where you get to make us ask ourselves questions before we can even respond to your questions. Another question is, how should a candidate maybe articulate their strengths into when they're asked questions such as, what are some of your strengths and your weaknesses? How can they respond to such kind of questions? Because I believe we have a lot of strengths and weaknesses which sometimes we don't want to review and we just want to hold on to them. So how can exactly, I don't want to tell them part of my weaknesses, because I might lose this job if I get to tell them this is the other side of me. But how should they respond to such kind of a question? Like, maybe tell us about your strengths and your weaknesses.
Yeah, so you have to understand that some of these questions, they are really giving you opportunities to sell yourself. Again, don't overthink things, and think of it like, and we tell when you're going for interviews, think of the interviewer sitting there in front of you. It's like at the market. He's going to buy something, and if you have just 2, 3, 4 people you're being interviewed for that position, well and good, you have less competition. There are circumstances in which you are competing against 50 others, 100 other people. So your job is to really package yourself. And this goes back to what we've been talking about in terms of understanding the company, understand the position, understand yourself. These things, we will keep on mentioning these things, because when you have understood that position, it means that you, as you package yourself at level 3 there, remember level 1, company, level 2, position, level 3, yourself. You, as you package yourself, what are now your strengths in relation to the position? These things are just simple things, Mabanta. So when you look at the strength, you want to highlight things that relate to the position. So let's say we're looking for a journalist. We are expecting that this person should be very good with communication skills. They should be able to somehow, depending on the type of journalism we are doing, is it investigative? Is it, I don't know, reading news? Whatever it is, you package yourself in line with that. If it's an accountant, we also need to look at your strength in relation to that job. So if a position is at a management level, you want to package yourself in terms of how you manage, you have managed others. My strength is maybe in leadership skills. I've done this, or I'm able to do this. If it is at a lower level, maybe you're looking for teamwork and things. And whatever you're mentioning, you should be able to back it up. And this is why we say to the viewers, it's important that you practice these things. Because if you say, one of my strengths is I'm able to work with people from diverse backgrounds. Okay?
And working under pressure.
I work well with under pressure with minimum supervision. Yeah. So if you're going to mention any of those strengths, you should also have an example, because you should be able to demonstrate. If there are interviewers who are going to question you, they ask you, okay, so you said you work well, very well with in a team. Give us an example. No, if I remember, actually, you cannot be all over the place. You need to be in a space where you package yourself properly. If you say you are able to work under pressure, can you actually demonstrate if you're asked? Sometimes you don't even wait for them to ask you. You tell them, I work very well under pressure. I remember, and again, I know we'll have some other conversations around this issue of working under pressure, which is a very subjective thing, because one's pressure might be somebody else's porridge. So if you say I work well under pressure, is one of my strengths, can you give an example? When I was working at that company, we had these deadlines, and what I managed to do was this, or had multiple assignments and things of that nature. So the key issue is you are selling yourself, and it has to be based on facts. And this is why when we've been talking about preparation, we cannot overemphasize the aspect of preparation. Because if you have not prepared, you are going to walk into that interview. When you walk out, some interviewers, they will not even allow you to finish. Within a few minutes, we can assess, there's nothing, this person, thank you very much for coming. You walk out, no, me, it didn't even take time. They have just seen that this person is wasting our time. But of course, in normal practice, they should allow you to finish the interviews. So when it comes to the aspect of the strengths, list your strengths in line with the job that they advertise. What are they looking for? Someone who pays attention to detail, someone who can multitask, things. Read that advert. I know there are some jobs where you don't see these adverts. It's another issue, but also think about that job. What kind of skills will be needed in that kind of a job, so that your strengths are in line with the position. Coming to the other side, the weaknesses. The weaknesses is always an issue. And I have to again mention your weaknesses. Think about the job again. If your job requires, this job that you're being interviewed for, requires you managing other people, you're going to be a team leader or a senior officer or a supervisor, and you start saying, well, I have a challenge, sometimes telling people what to do. What are you doing? You are already killing yourself. Nobody has even killed you. You have already started bringing down your marks. So you always have to think about the position, and the weaknesses you are going to mention should not be something that actually makes you to lose out or to demonstrate that you're going to struggle. You could mention one or two weaknesses. However, you should also be very quick to mention how you are improving on those kind of things. And sometimes actually we can tell you that sometimes you can actually take a positive, turn it into a weakness. I'll give an example. Someone will say, well, when it comes to work, sometimes I take on so much, with a team, and you're basically saying you are able to multitask or take on a lot of work, which is a positive on one end. However, you can turn it into a weakness. And so, well, what I've seen that actually sometimes in the past, it was now leading me to being burnout, to some burnout and so on. So what I've been now doing is to make sure that when there's work, especially in the team, which could affect my work, I make sure that I do my part, but I'm also encouraging the other team members to do their part. What have I even said? So, in other words, all you're saying is you could take the weaknesses, whatever weakness you're going to mention, but key to it is it should not be extremely detrimental to the position, but also you show and demonstrate that you have actually been working on improving on that area. I'll give you an example. One person, there was a time we were doing, in the past, we were recruiting for a particular bank. And this gentleman is asked about the weaknesses. Then he said, well, my weaknesses, my male friends, they complain that I only give money to my female friends. Well, this is my weakness. Now, this is in a bank, and this person is going to be playing with money. Already is a red flag. So the issue is you have to think critically about what you say, and this is where the preparation and practice comes in, so that even before you go into the interview, you are very comfortable with the material, you are comfortable with what you say, and nothing should really be a surprise.
Well explained, Mr. Kabanda. Maybe if you can also tackle the issue of, or maybe a question such as managing pressure in a stressful situation. We hide a lot when we go for interviews because I want this job, and I don't want to tell my HR, like, this is me. I have to hide certain things. But how should candidates explain their coping strategies when it comes to managing pressure or stressful situations?
Yeah, so when it comes to questions around stress, pressure, yes, a lot of employers, they are looking forward to hiring someone who can handle pressure. Because in a lot of work environments, you will find the pressure. Sometimes you're given 3, 4, 5 assignments which you have to do at the same time. So what do you actually do? The other time we had one candidate, and then she says, me, when I'm under pressure, I start singing. Okay. So, so now you're looking at that. If it is an environment like now in the offices where you have these the open offices, so how are you going to now live and work with the other colleagues? It's an open office. You have so many officers within the same, and you'll be there singing. Well, it is a truth on our side. It is a truth that that's what she does, but maybe that is not the most appropriate coping mechanism at this point, especially given that the position you're being interviewed for is a position where there is some high level of pressure. So the key issue is, again, these things that I talk about in terms of preparation. And I would encourage also job seekers, those who are just from school or those who are working and they intend to change jobs, to also look at personal awareness. You need to start being aware. At what point do you actually start to feel that now you're under a lot of pressure? At which point do you take a walk, or what mechanisms? There are other people who say, I'll put on earphones and so on. But key to it is the interviewers are looking at how do you actually prioritize your work. Because sometimes the pressure is coming because, one, you are trying to do so many things at the same time. You are failing to plan your work. So you should be able to demonstrate how you actually plan your work. And if certain things come, so even with the work that you receive, what is urgent, what is a priority, what is important, what needs to be done at what point. So there you have to demonstrate how you work around those things in terms of prioritizing. Then there are times when even you have planned your day, your week, your month, your year. You have planned everything very well, but some things just come. So how do you now sit down and analyze that now I need to focus on this while I put aside the other things? Also, when do you get to delegate, especially if you are at a level where you can delegate? Sometimes, as a senior officer, for instance, you are taking in so many things because you have also not acquired the necessary skills to delegate to others. So you are always burnt out. Every time, everything is pressure. If you are at a lower level, sometimes it's also your ability to look at what work needs to be done now. Sometimes people receive work from different supervisors at the same time. So can you engage the supervisor to discuss? Because even when the supervisor says this needs to be done now, maybe there's room, if you also have other things you're doing, you could actually engage them to maybe submit later. So all that is being asked there is, how do you prioritize your work? How do you plan? How do you communicate so that at the end of the day, you deliver quality work? Because also rushing through things just for purposes of submitting work, which is of poor quality, that cannot be accepted.
Well explained, Mr. Kabanda. Maybe if we can also talk about disagreements at work. How should a candidate respond to a question about time they disagreed with a decision made at work?
Yeah, so you have to understand human beings have thoughts and feelings. And with that, it means you are always going to have a situation where you may not always agree on everything that is being said. So if they're asking you such kind of questions, again, you have to look at what it is that they want. It is your ability, first of all, to communicate. So the interviewee should now start looking at, how, first of all, the decision that was being made, what was your involvement? So my part was to analyze this, my part was to do this and this and this, and then what did you do? So this is where you give the full situation. What was your tasks? What actions did you actually take as an individual? You remember last episode we talked about the STAR approach. This was the situation, these are the task at hand, the actions that I took were like this, and the results were as follows. So when your result, for instance, maybe your suggestion, you took it to your boss, maybe the boss did not agree with you. How did you handle that? Again, now we have moved from just explaining the situation. You now need to now show how did you communicate, your effective communication skills. You also then need to demonstrate your ability to negotiate, because sometimes you tell others something and they don't take it. It simply means maybe you have not communicated very well, or because of certain circumstances, a decision is being made even when your suggestion is a good suggestion, but because of the company's circumstances or your supervisor's information from their own bosses, which makes this thing not to work at this point, or they say we are not going to go that route. So it's now about your ability to take in that rejection of your idea and not taking things personal. It is simply that at that point that your suggestion or your idea has not been taken. So it's not, this is where you see some people now, you can literally see that they were throwing tantrums. No, because I told those people, calm down. These are just ideas. And the companies make decisions. If you put across your ideas, and they were good ideas and they were well researched and you did present them very well, if someone did not take them, yes, they didn't take them for various reasons. So it shouldn't now start hating you to a point you want to kill yourself. No, it's just, okay, at this point, this thing was not taken up. The supervisors know better. Sometimes supervisors will even come and implement your idea afterwards. And, oh yeah, remember what you said. So sometimes it's a matter of time, sometimes there is money issues, sometimes there are so many other factors. But key to it, when there's disagreement on an idea, or just at a personal level, you also need to demonstrate how mature you are in terms of what was it that you had a disagreement over with either a colleague or the supervisor. And you want to demonstrate that at the end of the day, you are focusing on being a professional.
Amazing. Maybe, when it comes to interview questions, as I said earlier, a lot of us, I want to also be part of, I don't want to exclude myself to the farmer. We usually face a lot of challenges when it comes to interview questions, and I must make mention, I know our viewers are really enjoying the program because you've really explained this particular topic for today. Mistakes usually happen.
They're still calling you.
Yeah, they're still calling, but it's okay. It's okay. Please, if you have any questions, comments, or contributions, please do drop us a text message using the number which is right on your TV screen. Don't call us. Won't pick that call, but if you want us to at least know what you want to talk about, if you have any questions, please do use the number which is right on your TV screen and send us that text message. Mr. Kabanda will respond to all the questions right here on KBN TV. Maybe if you can also talk about the issue of mistakes, because we all make mistakes.
Yeah.
No one can tell me that I don't make mistakes and I'm just okay, I'm good. Maybe if I go for interview, or maybe another person who's watching goes for interview, and then they get to ask them questions like, have you ever made a mistake? Such kind of a question, how should they respond to such kind of a question? Or if yes, I know they will ask them what kind of a mistake.
Yeah.
So how should they handle such kind of a question?
Yeah, so like you have rightly said, in life we all make mistakes. So this is also where we emphasize on self-awareness. Mm-hmm. If at some point you made a particular mistake in your career and they're asking about that, show self-awareness. That yes, at some point there was this that happened, or I don't know, you made some errors in your computations or in the way you are doing your work, if you're an engineer, you're whatever. But the key issue is, can you show that you own up? Mm-hmm. Because a lot of times you find people who are not self-aware, mm-hmm. Everything, for them, they have never made a mistake. Any mistake or any problem that ever happened, it wasn't them. Mm-hmm. It was somebody else. No, if we did this because my supervisor. No, my work. If there was some issue that happened, mm-hmm. be bold enough to say, yes, I did not fully analyze this issue, or I did not do this thing on time, so it led to the team performing in this particular manner. And what you want to demonstrate is that whatever happened, yes, you are taking ownership. At the same time, you also proceed to talk about quickly what you learned from that. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, any recruiter is really looking for somebody who can demonstrate growth. Mm-hmm. Because we all grow at some point. You cannot say, no, because I have 20 years of experience, so mm-hmm. For me, everything is perfect. No, there's no such a thing. Mm-hmm. Until the time you die, you will keep on learning. Mm-hmm. And there are things that you could have done better. So you need to demonstrate that, yes, at some point this and this happened. And this is why we say preparation. Again, mm-hmm. think about all these kind of things in advance, so that if they're asking you such kind of questions, you should be comfortable to just bring it out and show what you learned from that, mm-hmm. as well as how you have grown from that.
Amazing. If we can also talk about questions like, why are you planning to leave your current job? Yeah. How should we respond to this particular question? Because I'm wondering, I haven't left this job and they are aware that I'm still with this company, mm-hmm. and I'm being questioned, why am I leaving this company to join them? How should we respond to this particular question?
Again, we say Kabanda especially. This is not a chance now to say, all sorts of bad things. No, if you are really stepping to. No. It's it is not an opportunity to now say all sorts of bad things about the employer, the way they treat us, the way we know our salaries are so bad, mm-hmm. No, because that recruiter, the person who is interviewing you, mm-hmm. they are wise enough to also see that whatever you are saying, mm-hmm. you will say the same thing about them when you leave that job, mm-hmm. if they hire you. So be focused on why you really want to take up this new job. And it got back again to those things we're talking about in terms of understanding the company. Mm-hmm. You are going to now focus more on why you would want actually to join them, that you're now looking for growth, or is it some career progression, mm-hmm. Or you have been looking for a company that fits with a certain profile that you wanted. So mm-hmm. the focus should really be on the growth rather than, or focus on the positive rather than the negative. Because we have heard so many things. people carry around some heavy burdens. They are just asked that question. It's like now they want to offload, but you never know. You say all those bad things. The recruiter or the would-be new employer would also be thinking, do I want to hire this person who come and say the same thing about me when they'll be leaving?
But what if I'm just telling them the truth?
It is the truth, but it's not necessary at this point.
Okay.
What is key really, for instance, if there are certain things that, was it a salary issue, for instance, which was low, it simply means you'll be looking out when they give you the offer. You want to see more money in that offer. So it sorts out your salary issue. Is it an environment which was toxic where you're coming from? Probably at the time you'll be signing the contract, even before you sign that contract, spend time to ask if the HR is there. Have a conversation with them. Normally they will give you the contract and they will have, you're given maybe 48 hours or 5 days or whatever period you're given. Use that time to actually have conversations and you can find out if you come across some employees. And so if there are certain issues that were a big issue, you have still that opportunity before you sign the contract to now have a conversation. Because remember, when you are doing the interviews, you are probably meeting a lot of you also fighting for the same position. But when now you have been selected and the contract is being prepared, or they call you for negotiation, that will be the time to actually spend time now to iron out any concerns you might have had for the position where you're coming from. So that when you're joining this new company, probably some of those concerns you had are sorted out. And this is why we always say, don't start announcing where you're coming from. Hey, because me now, they have called me the other side, I'm leaving. Even before you have seen everything in the contract and you have had these conversations that sorts out your concerns with regards to where you're coming from, especially if the environment was bad. You could also be genuine about it, especially if you want to leave maybe because of certain circumstances. They say you are posted in some rural area, your family remained in town and maybe you're now looking forward to coming back. If this company is in town and they're offering you that opportunity, you could tell them. But what we are emphasizing is, please, it's not the time to say, talk about all the bad things.
Amazing. Well explained, Mr. Kabanda. Now, in a situation where a candidate was fired, how should they address this potentially sensitive issue? I mean, I don't know how to start up this conversation and tell my interviewer that this is it, I was fired, that's why I am trying to apply for this job.
That one is a very difficult question, actually. Believe you me, even the interviewers know. You can always tell when you're doing interviews. You're asking also, how did you separate with your previous employer? And the person just starts skipping around. No,
trying to dodge the question.
You know what happened? We just had some conversation. I left. But there are very specific ways in which employees separate with employers. From the employee side, you could resign, or you could, it could be you have separated on medical grounds, or you are dismissed, or it is redundant, or you died. Of course, at that point, you want to be in the interviews. So in terms of the staff separation, they are very specific, and you expect to see that in the separation data, whether it was dismissal, whether it is redundance, whether it was whatever it is. So the moment a candidate starts to go around in answering that question, you know there was a problem. So if you are fired, you could be frank about it. Yeah, I made a mistake. Sometimes it's not even your mistake. Okay, at the end of the day, you are fired. But sometimes you find that something happened, maybe you didn't report it, or some colleagues were involved in certain activities, or they could have, maybe you were stealing. Whatever circumstance it was. The key issue is be frank. Look, I made a mistake. This happened, but over time, what is it that you have learned? Again, it's like the other one we talked about. You have to demonstrate how you have improved over time. Of course, this issue is going to be with you for a long time. A lot of employers are very skeptical about hiring somebody who was fired, but there are also employers who would look at what you have presented and your genuineness, that indeed this person has changed. Sometimes you could have been fired because you are arrogant or you are sleeping on duty. Those are small things compared to maybe if you are stealing. But be genuine about it and just demonstrate how we have grown over time from that kind of a mistake in terms of your thinking, your decisions you make. The employers will be able to listen to you.
Amazing, well explained. If maybe we can also talk about career changes. I believe the hiring managers, some don't like people who get to change jobs here and there. How should candidates explain why they changed career paths, or maybe why at some points they stopped working at some point and changed to another? How should they handle such kind of situation?
Really, you can see, especially in the CV, even when the person says, at the time of tell us about yourself, you can tell that the person is skipping around certain periods. Again, that is not necessary. We're talking about being genuine. If you change jobs, be clear about why you change jobs. If you worked in a particular company, you switch to another company, be clear about why you are changing. And this is going back to the preparation and practice. Yes, I worked for this company from this period to that period. I changed because of this. This is maybe you are looking for career growth. Maybe you are looking for other things. There are employers who actually don't mind if people change jobs. There are also those who just believe you should be in one company from the time you finished until the time you die. There are those people who believe like that. Personally, I don't have a problem if the person was changing, because myself, I had the principle of changing jobs every after 3 years. In those days, now we are old, so. But the key issue is be clear about why you are changing, and also emphasize the aspect that with those changes of the jobs, you also acquired skills. Remember, you married back to the position that was advertised, and show and demonstrate how having gone in different companies, in different sectors, has also made you to be a more rounded person. That means now you're bringing to them this person who has this kind of skills and experience which will be beneficial for them. So it's always about spinning things back to the position, back to the position.
Amazing. Before we read some of the text messages that we've received from our viewers, maybe if you can also tackle a question such as, how would your boss and your co-workers describe you? How should candidates get to respond to they were eager to learn. Last week we did have an amazing conversation, and I loved how they got to send in a number of questions, and I was looking forward to having this day because they're still sending in questions. So if you can respond to this one as we get to tackle quite a number of questions that they've just sent.
Yeah, what would the co-workers and former or boss say about you? Again, be genuine, and again, be prepared for those kind of things. It's also another opportunity to just sell yourself again. Like, talk about how much of a team player you are, and you do believe if this company contacted them, they will be able to say the same thing in terms of how you work well with others. And again, this is where self-awareness is very critical. And that's why we also say, even as you are working currently, for those of you who are still working, have genuine, proper, good connections and work well with other team members and your supervisors. I know that a lot of times there are all these frictions that happen in workplaces, but be in a space where even when you ask such questions, you can say, yes, I believe they will be able to. So highlight some key strengths in terms of maybe how you work well, or how you commit, or how you work with team members.
Amazing. What about some unexpected questions? I believe sometimes our interviewers usually come up with unexpected questions that we're not even looking forward to. How should candidates get to tackle such kind of a situation? Or maybe if you can also talk about some of the unexpected questions that you usually ask candidates when they come for interviews. I'm representing my people well today.
The unexpected questions. Sometimes it's those kind of questions where people say, if you are an animal, what animal would you be? If you are this. For me, those are not really very nice questions, if you ask me.
But why do we come up with such kind of questions if they are not nice?
Those kind of questions, I must tell you, they are meant to. If you come across such kind of questions, they are kind of scenario or they are hypothetical questions. They are basically looking at assessing how you do problem solving, how critical you think. So you have to think on your feet very fast. And sometimes, depending on the level, if it is a management position you have gone to be interviewed for, or it's a non-management. So if they ask you what kind of animal, I know, or they tell you if it was a lion, why a lion? You could pick up certain traits in a lion that speaks to leadership and things of that nature, or management. If you're at a lower position, I don't know, whatever animal you pick or the animal they have picked, you could be focusing on maybe teamwork, or your ability to communicate, or your ability to lead. So you should be able to think about the fact that those questions sometimes are meant to look at your personality. From the psychology point of view, everything that you do somehow it tells us about your personality, how you handle pressure, how you handle working with others, how you handle authority and things of that nature. So don't be stressed when such kind of questions come up.
Amazing. These are quite, anyway, they're good questions. I would just say they're good questions. If you can read some of the text messages that we've received today, and I hope they won't say, no, we want him to talk about them next week again.
We have been a lot on job seekers.
Okay, so our first text reads, "Good afternoon, present. I have just joined. Kindly, sir, explain if I am asked to tell the interviewer about myself. Are they asking about my family or education? What is your salary expectations?"
Okay, so I think those ones, just go back to the beginning of, go on the Facebook page. They should be able to find the answers we have given. And also for salary expectations, we tackled that in the last episode. Basically, mention what you're getting, and also mention what you're expecting. On what you are expecting, like we mentioned last time, you could give a range if you don't want to give a specific figure. And you could have done your research around it. But most importantly, on salary expectation, also be able to say, this is subject to negotiation.
Amazing.
It is very key.
Amazing. Second text reads, "This is a very interesting topic. How do you handle a situation where you completely do not understand what the interviewer is asking about?" Christoph Ansoni.
Yeah, so you have the right to actually ask the interviewer to rephrase, or to ask the question again. You have that right. Again, don't start answering questions which you have not clearly understood, because you end up saying the wrong things. I must also say, we have not talked about the technical questions. I would encourage the viewers to read a lot depending on their position, if it is an accounting, journalism, whatever position they are going for, read on the technical, the regulations, the laws, the principles and things of that nature, because that you need to know what you're talking about.
All right. This one reads, "How do you handle a situation where, as HR manager, you find employees on strike and they are not allowing any member of staff to enter work premises?" Congratulations.
Unfortunately, this is not for this topic for today. So that one, we'll try to respond beyond this session.
Amazing, Mr. Kabanda. This has been an amazing conversation, and I believe our viewers out there, they've really enjoyed this episode. And I know they're still typing, sending in their text messages. All you have to do, continue dropping us those text messages. You can also go on our Facebook page, which is KBN TV, and get to send us those text messages. And we've really covered quite a lot today, and I'm sure, as I said earlier, our viewers have gained valuable insights for today. Your last remarks as we get to wrap up this conversation.
Yeah, really, it's just to encourage the viewers that job search, of course, we know it's very difficult, especially given the high unemployment rates. So once you have been given an opportunity to go for interviews, please make sure you prepare very well. This part I cannot overemphasize. Take time to read up the company, what they do, the position, and prepare yourself very well. And do a lot of practice, even with family members or whoever it is that could be there to help them. In that way, you can then increase your chances of getting that particular job.
Amazing. Thank you very much for teaching us how to respond to these amazing questions. We've really mastered job interview questions today, and I believe my viewers out there, they've mastered the interview questions for today. That's all we had for today's segment on Labor Matters right here on KBN TV, and we hope that you found this conversation enlightening and that it equips you for success in your career. And just good luck if you're looking for a job and you're applying for that job which you've been really praying for. We wish you good luck. And for those with questions, do feel free to send them using the number which is right on your TV screen, and also go on our Facebook page, which is KBN TV, and let's continue having this beautiful conversation. And do not forget to follow KBN TV on all social media platforms, and Mr. Kabanda on LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. Everywhere. So all you have to do is just search for us on all social media platforms. Until next week, I have been your host, Patricia Chinambikwa, and